Well, Husker fans, the wait is almost over. Friday forecast time. UTEP comes to town. 135th season of Husker football nearly ready to kick off. Sean, you've seen all of camp. What was your big takeaway coming out of camp with this Nebraska team? A lot of new pieces, but a lot of experience.
I would say a lot of status quo, and that's the sign of a veteran team. The only oars that we saw on any depth chart positions were running back, which I think we kind of thought was expected, and then kicker, and those questions with Tristan Alvano. Other than that, across the board, I mean, this defense is very much established. 9 of the 11 starters are single-digit jersey wearers, and on offense, we know that offensive line and their makeup. The receiver group is kind of interesting. I thought Janiron Bonner, very notable that he's emerged in this new role where he's a true number 1 slot guy. But I'm excited. Let's play a game now. Yeah,
we got Banks and Nayor as well, newcomers on the wide receiving core, and obviously a lot of people want to see what Carter Nelson brings to the table. But we can't go any further without talking Dylan Raiola. He won the job, the true freshman, just the second in Husker history, first since Adrian Martinez to start the opener as a true freshman.
Right, and you look at, I think Raiola is a lot further ahead right now than where Martinez was, because if you remember, Martinez's first spring, he was coming off the shoulder injury, so he was very rusty returning, and we really didn't know he was going to win that job back then over Jebby. It went all the way down to the wire before they went with Martinez. This situation, I think we've almost known really since April that it was going to be Raiola. It's just a matter of how and when. And he's operated and, gone about it as if he's the starter with his approach, and that's been impressive.
I think it's going to be interesting, too, because last year under Matt Rule, they had to kind of pivot offensively because they lost their starting quarterback and really had to redesign their entire offensive scheme. This year, we'll get a better picture of what this offense is all about in Marcus Satterfield, will we not?
No, there's no doubt. The old saying, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. And Nebraska was down Jimmy, Joe, and John last year. I mean, it was not family. it wasn't every. It was just not. Yeah, when you think about it, their top 2 running backs, their top group of receivers, and they essentially went with who was their third quarterback. Heinrich Haarberg was almost an afterthought when you think about where it was going into the year, because you had Jeff Sims, you had Chubba Purdy, you had all these things in place, and then Haarberg kind of winning that role. It's a much different feeling here, not only that with Raiola, but even Haarberg's experience, I think, helps his football team.
No question, and Haarberg did win 5 games, and he's at the ready should something happen to Dylan. Defensively, they're going to get a test because UTEP has a high play count. They want to move the tempo, and they want to snap the ball quickly, do they not?
Yeah, Scotty Walden, a high-tempo coach from Austin Peay, 34 years old, I believe the youngest in FBS, if not by like 1 year separation, one of the youngest for sure in the game of football. He had 11 transfers, Andy, follow him from Austin Peay, including 4 wide receivers, along with his starting running back and one of his quarterbacks. So a heavy group of those skill players came with him, and you're going to see those guys. They will not look like a year 1 group because these guys all played for Walden a year ago, and the same coaching staff.
Yeah, Walden's 34 years old, second youngest in college football in terms of a head coach. His offensive coordinator is Jake Brown, a guy who coordinated Louisiana Tech, so he knows all about Matt Rule and Nebraska.
Yeah, and it was funny at the satellite camps this summer, those guys were there. And, ran into a player that was on that Louisiana Tech team from another team that transferred to the school we were at there. And he said that we thought we had Nebraska. He goes, we looked at that game, it was really a tight game at halftime, and we thought we could win the game. And so he's very confident. He knows Nebraska's personnel. They are not coming here just to get a paycheck. Obviously, we've seen week 0 in some of the results with Georgia Tech, even Nevada nearly beating SMU as a 4-touchdown underdog should get your attention.
Yeah, no question. Matt Rule said this team, UTEP, is coming here not to play. They're coming here to Lincoln to win, so that kind of gets your antenna up. What are you expecting on Saturday?
Well, I think Nebraska's secondary really helps them. I think you've got grown men back there. They're physical. And look, these receivers for UTEP, I don't look at them as big physical bodies. They're going to try to cross you up, kind of create confusion. That's where Nebraska, I think, has an advantage in this game with the experience they have on the back end and the physicality to tackle. And the defensive line. Can Nebraska's defensive line control the line of scrimmage to allow Nebraska to keep 7 or even 8 guys in coverage at certain moments of this game? The Westmoreland, who's the edge rusher for UTEP, NFL level player. He was a first-team All-Conference USA player. Stayed on the team. Would have probably been a Power 5 transfer. So the left tackle play or the right tackle, wherever they move him around, is going to get a challenge here from Westmoreland, who is a very good edge rusher.
And finally, we've got to mention special teams. Obviously, the return units didn't do a whole lot last year. We'll see what happens if they take another step. But obviously, the kicking game has been a major point of concern here at camp.
Yeah, I think Tristan Alvano, it's almost been good that John Hall has come in and looked good, because he can't just kind of casually walk back into his role. He knows he's got a legitimate contender. How that's handled, I would think John Hall does the kickoffs. Now it's the field goals. On short kicks, would they go with Alvano? And then on longer ones, would it be Hall? I mean, you wonder if there's going to be a plan or how they go about this here in the opener.
And finally, I got to ask you this, or talk about this. They're switching sidelines, so a new look for Husker fans. Huskers are going to, you got a fly in your forehead as we go into our final take. The Huskers are switching sidelines, so it's a new look for them, and there's a couple new rules I want to mention.
Yeah, new sideline, but you talk about the 2-minute warning now, or the 2-minute timeout. I think NFL must have that copyrighted, but they're going to get that in the second and the fourth quarters. There's going to now be 18 tablets, so hopefully the beefed-up Wi-Fi Troy Dannon and the athletic department put into the stadium is going to help those 18 or they might have to say, hey, everybody get off their internet, because we need our iPads working on the sidelines. 23 headsets, but the helmet headsets as well for the quarterback and one of the linebackers, whoever they designate as the player, to have that. So big changes, and they'll get live feeds essentially of plays as they happen, which will help coaches and eliminate things that we saw maybe at Michigan a year ago.
We'll see what happens. Nebraska, almost a 4-touchdown favorite to take on and beat UTEP on Saturday. Kickoff at 2:30 at Memorial Stadium.